Nancy, we would like to announce that you have won the Lifetime Achievement category of the Ocean Awards.
Oh, my. Those are the sort of announcements that leave me speechless, making it hard for me to say anything. But obviously, I'm incredibly honored and pleased. Those of us in this field, we don't do it for the awards, but we certainly we we can't help but be happy when people recognize that what we're doing is making a difference. So thank you so much.
I wonder if, Nancy, you'd like to explain how you normally introduce yourself, how you normally explain what you do.
Well, I'm both a scientist and an ocean advocate. So part of me works to collect the information we need to conserve the ocean. But I spend a lot of time increasingly now actually making sure that information gets out to all the places it needs to get to, the general public, policymakers, really the world at large.
So you went from pessimism and unadulterated pessimism about the world to optimism. And you have gone on being optimistic. Why is that?
I started off pessimistic because I saw so much terrible stuff happening to coral reefs, which is an ecosystem that I love. 1/3 of all the diversity in the ocean goes with coral reefs. So I started teaching students when I went to California with a new job at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. I realized that they really didn't want just the problems. They wanted the solutions. They wanted to know what they could do about it. They didn't want ocean obituaries. And so that's when I started getting interested in the successes and the solutions. And when I started digging into it, what I found was that there are actually a lot of successes, not enough, of course, but there were plenty of successes. And in fact, most of them were very poorly known, even to the scientists working in ocean conservation.
So are you now, you are some years into, nearly a decade into ocean optimism. Are you more optimistic or less optimistic about the state of the world's oceans?
I think I'm more optimistic. I'm not a Pollyanna, so it's not like I'm trying to say there are no problems. There are huge problems. But I think I'm more optimistic for a couple of different reasons. One is, well, certainly on the climate front, although we still are, heading in the wrong direction, what's happening now with renewable energy is breathtaking. And it's happening much faster than people predicted. Also, and all the technology associated with remote sensing, we can keep track of things now so much better than we used to be able to keep track of. But I think the real reason I'm optimistic is not the science and technology, it's the changing attitudes of people and also our better understanding of what it takes to have people work with nature instead of against it. And I had to say, I'm a child of the 60s and 70s, so I grew up protesting the Vietnam War, and then for decades, I feel like young people were just not engaged in social issues at all, much less the environment, and that is really not the case now. And then finally, it's the realization that positive change can happen really quickly now, and so things and so things that seemed impossible, even as I said a couple of years ago, are now reality. I'm working on constructive, realistic optimism, which shines a spotlight on what's working and uses what's working to create more success without denying or looking away from the many problems that are still there. So it's a big difference.
Your optimism is not unlimited, but it is optimism for some of the trends that we're seeing.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's a question of things getting bad more slowly, which seems like a first kind of optimism, but that's the stage you have to go through before things start to get better. So it's really important to recognize that as a positive trend. So I spent a month on a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in the Southern Line Islands. Now, these are places that are so far away from people that there's no problem with pollution. There's no problem with fishing. It's just not worth the gas to get there. And so they're as close to pristine as you can imagine for a coral reef. Of course, they are affected by climate change, including by mass mortality by coral bleaching. But these are places that have the ability still to bounce back and to dive in a place that has been untouched in a direct sense by people is amazing. It's like traveling in a time machine to what the ocean used to be like, but it also gives you a vision for where you could take a time machine into the future and make the ocean like when we start doing conservation right.
And will we ever get it right?
Well, people are people. We'll never get everything perfect, but I think I think we'll improve. Let's put it that way.